The notification lit up my phone at 6:47 p.m. I was sitting in my home office, the same room where I'd spent countless evenings waiting for Emma to come home lately. Working late again. Don't wait up tonight. I stared at the message for a long moment. 3 weeks ago, I would have felt that familiar knot in my stomach. 2 weeks ago, I would have typed out a concerned reply asking if everything was okay. 1 week ago, I would have pretended to believe her. Tonight, I felt nothing but a strange sense of calm. My fingers moved across the screen almost automatically. Didn't plan on it. I hit send and set the phone down. The house was quiet except for the distant hum of the refrigerator. Funny how you notice these things when you're truly alone. Not physically alone, I'd been that for weeks now, but emotionally alone. That moment when you realize you've already started letting go. Emma and I had been married for 7 years. We'd bought this house together 5 years ago, painted these walls, chose that couch in the living room after 3 furniture stores and 2 arguments. We'd made love in every room, planned our future over morning coffee, and promised each other forever under a canopy of stars on our wedding night. But forever has a way of becoming finite when people stop trying. It started subtly. An extra hour at the office here, a girls' night there. Emma worked in marketing at a tech startup downtown. Demanding job, I understood that. Or at least I wanted to understand that. But then came the new wardrobe, the expensive perfume I never saw her wear at home, the way she'd angle her phone away when texting, the late-night showers the moment she walked through the door. I'm not a stupid man. I have 2 engineering degrees and run a successful consulting firm. Pattern recognition is literally part of my job. The patterns here were painfully clear. 3 weeks ago, I'd done something I never thought I would do. I checked our cell phone bill. The same number appeared dozens of times, calls, texts at all hours. A number that wasn't saved in her phone under any contact name. I ran it through a basic search. Marcus Chen, he worked at her company, Senior Vice President of Product Development. I didn't confront her. Instead, I called David Reeves, the best divorce attorney in the city, and an old college friend. We had coffee. I laid out everything. He nodded sympathetically and said, "Let me handle this quietly. In the meantime, document everything, but don't let her know you know." So I didn't. I became a ghost in my own marriage. I watched her lie with a smile. I heard her shower away the evidence. I observed her check her reflection in every mirror, making sure she looked perfect for someone who wasn't me. And with each passing day, something inside me died and was reborn as something harder, colder, more resolved. My phone buzzed again. I glanced at it. Actually heading out now. Should be home by 11. Then another message seconds later. Everything okay? I could read the panic between those words. She'd expected anger, questions, maybe pleading. My indifference was a language she didn't understand and it terrified her. Good. Fine. Drive safe. I stood up from my desk and walked downstairs. The envelope was already on the kitchen counter where David's paralegal had left it this afternoon. Delivered while Emma was at work. Divorce papers meticulously prepared. Asset division, settlement terms, everything documented and fair, but firm. I'd moved my essential belongings to a storage unit over the past week. Clothes, important documents, my grandfather's watch, photos from my childhood. Everything that mattered to me personally was already gone. This house with all its memories could be sold. The equity split. I didn't care about the furniture or the kitchen appliances or any of the material things we'd accumulated. I only cared about my dignity, and I was taking that with me. I placed the envelope prominently on the counter, directly in her line of sight when she'd walk in from the garage. Then I turned off all the lights in the house except for the small lamp above the kitchen counter, creating a spotlight effect on the papers. My phone buzzed a 3rd time. Be home in 20. Can we talk? I didn't reply. Instead, I grabbed my keys, walked out the front door, and drove to the Marriott downtown where I'd already booked a suite for the next month. Behind me, the house stood dark and waiting, holding the truth she'd been running from. The hotel room was impersonal and perfect. Clean sheets that didn't smell like her perfume. Silence that wasn't loaded with unspoken accusations. I sat on the edge of the bed and finally let myself feel something other than numbness. Anger came first. Hot and sharp. 7 years. 7 goddamn years I'd been faithful, present, trying. I'd supported her career change, her expensive MBA, her decision to join the startup for half the salary she could have made elsewhere because it was her passion. I'd picked up the slack at home, done more than my share of cooking and cleaning, Never complained about the long hours, and she'd repaid me by fucking her boss. My phone started ringing. Emma. I declined the call. It rang again immediately, declined. Then came the texts rapid fire. Where are you? Your car's not here. What are these papers? Jake, please. This is insane. We need to talk about this. You can't just leave like this. I can explain everything. That last one almost made me laugh. Explain what? Explain the lies? Explain Marcus Chen? Explain why I wasn't enough? I typed one message. My attorney will contact you tomorrow. Don't call me again. Then I blocked her number. The next morning, I woke up to 17 missed calls from various numbers. Her friends, her mother, even her sister Rachel, who I'd actually liked. I ignored them all except Rachel. Jake, what the hell is going on? Rachel's voice was tight with confusion. Ask your sister, I said calmly. She's hysterical. She said you left divorce papers and disappeared. She said you won't talk to her. That's correct. Jake, come on. You guys can work through whatever. Rachel, I love you like family, but you don't know what you're talking about. Your sister made choices. Now she gets to live with them. There was a long pause. What did she do? Again, ask her. But make sure she tells you the truth this time. She's had a lot of practice lying lately. I hung up before she could respond. My phone immediately buzzed with a text from David. She called my office at 7 a.m. crying, wants to talk. I told her to get her own attorney. You solid? Solid, I replied. I got ready for work with mechanical precision. Shower, shave, suit, coffee. I had client meetings today. Life continued. The world didn't stop spinning because my marriage imploded. It had been imploding for weeks. I'd just been the only one honest enough to acknowledge it. At the office, my assistant Jennifer took one look at me and wisely said nothing. I dove into work, letting spreadsheets and project timelines drown out everything else. Lunchtime brought an unexpected visitor. Marcus Chen himself, standing in my building's lobby, looking remarkably uncomfortable in his expensive suit. Jake Morrison? He asked, though he clearly knew who I was. That would be me. I kept my voice neutral, professional. I'm Marcus Chen. I work with Emma. Can we talk? I don't think we have anything to discuss. Please. Just 5 minutes, I checked my watch. 4 minutes. Clock's running. We stepped outside. He ran a hand through his perfectly styled hair, suddenly looking less like a confident VP and more like a man who knew he'd fucked up. Emma told me you left her. She's devastated. I want you to know that nothing happened between us. Not really. We're just friends. We work together and— Stop, I interrupted. First, you're lying. Second, even if you weren't, you're standing here, which means you care enough about her reaction to track down her husband at his workplace. Third, I don't care. You can have her. She's your problem now. His face flushed. You're just going to throw away 7 years? No, I said quietly. She did that. I'm just the one with enough self-respect to admit it's over. I checked my watch again. Your 4 minutes are up. Don't contact me again. And Marcus? When she gets bored and does this to you, and she will, remember this conversation. I walked back inside, leaving him standing there. That evening, David called with an update. She hired Patricia Knowles. Expensive attorney, aggressive. This might get ugly. Let it, I said. I have nothing to hide. Can she say the same? That's the spirit. One more thing she's refusing to sign. Says she wants marriage counseling, a chance to fix things. She's claiming you're being rash, that this came out of nowhere. I laughed, actually laughed. Out of nowhere, right, the classic cheater's playbook. Gaslight the victim. I'll handle it. Oh, and Jake? For what it's worth, I've known you 15 years. You're doing the right thing. After we hung up, I sat in my sterile hotel room and finally pulled out my laptop. I opened the folder of evidence I'd compiled. Cell phone records, credit card statements showing hotel rooms I'd never been to, restaurant charges for 2 when she'd claimed to be working late. I hadn't wanted to be this person, the suspicious husband who investigated his wife. But ignorance wasn't bliss. It was just ignorance. My phone buzzed. An unknown number. Against my better judgment, I answered. Jake, please, it's me. Emma's voice was hoarse from crying. Someone let me borrow their phone. Please, just listen. I hung up and blocked the number. Some bridges don't need to be burned. Sometimes you just need to walk away and let them collapse on their own. The deposition took place on a cold Tuesday morning in David's downtown office. Emma sat across the conference table, her attorney Patricia Knowles beside her, both wearing expressions of carefully crafted sympathy. Emma had lost weight. Dark circles shadowed her eyes and her hands trembled slightly as she reached for her water glass. I felt nothing. "Mr. Morrison," Patricia began, her voice smooth and practiced, "my client is willing to attend marriage counseling. She acknowledges there have been difficulties, but believes this marriage is worth saving." David leaned back in his chair. Difficulties. That's an interesting word choice. We all make mistakes, Patricia continued. Mrs. Morrison is willing to work on the marriage if Mr. Morrison would approach this with an open mind and heart. Is she? I spoke for the first time, my voice cutting through the legal niceties. Is she willing to work on it? Or is she willing to lie more effectively? Emma's eyes filled with tears. Jake, please. Mr. Morrison, Patricia warned. Hostility won't help anyone. I opened the folder in front of me and slid several pages across the table. Cell phone records. 43 calls to Marcus Chen in the month of October alone. Text messages numbering in the hundreds. Want to explain those, Emma? Her face went white. Hotel charges, I continued, sliding more papers. The Westin Downtown. The Grand Hyatt. Same dates as company conferences that I now know Marcus also attended. You told me you were sharing rooms with your colleague Sarah. I called Sarah last week. She hasn't traveled for work in 6 months. Jake, you're twisting everything. Credit card statements. Lingerie from that boutique downtown. Lingerie I've never seen you wear. Dinner for 2 at Martello's on our anniversary. I was in Chicago that week for work. Who were you with, Emma? She was crying now, shoulders shaking. Part of me, a smaller part every day, wanted to reach across and comfort her. The rest of me remembered every lie, every late night. Every time she'd looked me in the eye and made me feel crazy for questioning her. These are circumstantial, Patricia said, but her voice had lost some of its confidence. David smiled thinly. We also have sworn affidavits from 3 of Mrs. Morrison's co-workers describing her relationship with Mr. Chen as romantic and inappropriately close. We have Marcus Chen's own testimony. Yes, he cooperated when faced with a subpoena, admitting to an emotional affair that became physical approximately 4 months ago. Should I continue? The room fell silent except for Emma's quiet sobbing. I loved you, I said finally, looking directly at her. I would have given you anything. All you had to do was be honest with me. If you were unhappy, we could have talked. If you'd fallen out of love, we could have separated with dignity. Instead, you lied. You made me question my own sanity. You came home to me after being with him and let me hold you, kiss you, make love to you. Do you understand how violated that makes me feel? I never meant to hurt you, she whispered. But you did. Repeatedly. Deliberately. You made a choice every single time you texted him, met him, lied to me. That wasn't an accident, Emma. That was a choice. Patricia cleared her throat. What are your client's terms, David? The negotiation was clinical. The house would be sold, equity split. Emma would keep her car, I'd keep mine. We'd divide the savings accounts, the investment portfolio, the retirement funds, everything we'd built together, reduced to line items on a spreadsheet. There's one more thing, David said. Mr. Morrison wants it noted in the divorce decree that the marriage ended due to Mrs. Morrison's admitted adultery. This is important for the record. That's punitive, Patricia objected. That's truthful, I corrected. You wanted to paint me as the bad guy who abandoned his wife. I want the truth documented. I didn't abandon her. She destroyed us. Emma finally spoke, her voice breaking. I was confused. Marcus made me feel seen. You were always working, always busy. Don't. The word came out harder than I intended. Don't you dare blame me for your choices. Yes, I worked. So did you. I still came home to you every night. I still chose you every single day. You want to know the difference between us? When I was stressed or felt disconnected, I tried to talk to you about it. When you felt that way, you fucked your boss. The raw language hung in the air. Professional decorum shattered. Patricia looked uncomfortable. David's expression remained neutral, but I caught the slight nod of approval. Emma stood up abruptly. I can't do this. I can't sit here and be destroyed like this. Then sign the papers, I said quietly. Accept the terms. Let us both move on. She looked at me for a long moment, searching my face for something. Forgiveness, maybe, or a crack in my resolve. She found neither. Fine, she whispered. I'll sign. Patricia tried to object, to ask for time to reconsider, but Emma was already reaching for the pen. Her hand shook as she signed her name across multiple documents, officially ending what we'd started 7 years ago with such hope. When it was done, she stood and walked toward the door. At the threshold, she turned back. I did love you, Jake, I still do. No, I said. You loved the security I provided. You loved having someone waiting at home while you explored whatever excitement Marcus offered. That's not love, Emma. That's convenience. She left without another word. David and I sat in silence for a moment after the door closed. You okay? He asked. I will be, I said, and I meant it. The hard part wasn't over. There were still papers to file, assets to divide, a life to untangle. But the worst part, the not knowing, the hoping she'd change, the lying to myself, that was finally done. I walked out of that office lighter than I'd felt in months. The sky was overcast, threatening rain, but to me it looked like the beginning of something new. Freedom, I realized, sometimes comes with paperwork and pain, but it still comes. 6 weeks after the papers were signed, I stood in my new apartment watching movers carry in furniture I'd ordered online. Everything was different. Modern, clean lines, none of the faux rustic Emma had loved. This place was mine, chosen by me, reflecting only my tastes. My phone rang. Rachel, Emma's sister. I'd unblocked her number a week ago. Hey, she said softly. How are you? Getting there. You? Honestly? Pissed off at my sister. Rachel sighed. She finally told me everything. The whole truth this time. Jake, I'm so sorry. I had no idea. I know you didn't. She's a mess. Moved back in with Mom and Dad. Marcus ended things. Apparently his wife found out and he's trying to save his own marriage. The irony is not lost on me. I should have felt satisfaction. I didn't. Just a dull sense of inevitability. She keeps asking if you'll talk to her, Rachel continued. I told her to stop, that you've moved on, but I have moved on, I interrupted gently. Rachel, you're my friend too. We don't have to talk about Emma. Thank you, she said, relief evident in her voice. Actually, that's why I'm calling. My company is having a charity gala next month. I know you hate these things, but it's for a good cause, and I could use a friendly face. Send me the details. I'll be there. After we hung up, I looked around my half-furnished apartment. The view overlooked the river, sunlight streaming through floor-to-ceiling windows. I'd learned something important these past weeks. Being alone wasn't the same as being lonely. I'd started running again, something I'd abandoned years ago. I'd reconnected with old friends Emma had never liked. Too loud, too crude, too whatever excuse she'd used. I'd discovered I actually enjoyed cooking for one. Experimenting with recipes without worrying about her dietary restrictions that changed monthly. Most importantly, I'd started trusting myself again. Work had become a refuge of a different kind. Jennifer, my assistant, had noticed the change. You seem lighter, she observed one afternoon. Lighter? Less burdened. It's good to see. That evening, I received an email from an unexpected source. Marcus Chen. Jake, I know you don't want to hear from me, but I need to say this. You were right about everything. Emma and I imploded the moment the excitement wore off. I destroyed my marriage. She destroyed hers. And for what? Late-night texts and hotel rooms? I was a fool. You handled everything with more dignity than I deserved. I hope you find someone who deserves you. Marcus, I read it twice, then deleted it. His guilt wasn't my problem to solve. The charity gala arrived faster than expected. I wore my best suit. The navy one Emma had always said made my eyes look too intense. I wore it anyway. Rachel met me at the entrance, stunning in a black dress. You clean up nice, Morrison. You're not so bad yourself. The evening was surprisingly enjoyable. Rachel introduced me to colleagues, donors, interesting people who knew nothing about my failed marriage and saw me simply as Jake, not Jake the divorced guy. Rachel mentioned you're in consulting. A woman in a red dress appeared beside me at the bar. Tall auburn hair, intelligent eyes. I'm Sophie. I'm thinking about hiring a consultant for my startup. What's your specialty? We talked shop for 20 minutes before I realized we were both enjoying ourselves far beyond professional interest. She was funny, sharp-witted, and refreshingly direct. I should probably mingle, she said eventually, handing me her card. But call me. For consulting, or not just consulting. I watched her walk away, pocketing the card. Was I ready? I didn't know. but the possibility felt less terrifying than it had weeks ago. "You look happy," Rachel observed later, handing me a champagne flute. "I'm getting there." She's amazing, by the way. Sophie, PhD from Stanford, built her company from scratch, and as far as I know, she's honest and available. Total opposite of— She stopped herself. "It's okay. You can say her name." Emma made her choices. I made mine. Life goes on. Rachel clinked her glass against mine. To life going on. To life going on. Later that night, alone in my apartment, I stood by the window overlooking the city. Somewhere out there, Emma was probably awake too. Maybe regretting, maybe justifying, maybe just trying to survive. I hoped she'd eventually find peace. I really did. Not for her sake, but for mine, because holding on to anger would give her more space in my life than she deserved. My phone buzzed. A text from Sophie. "Thanks for the conversation tonight. Coffee sometime?" I typed back, "Absolutely." "How's Thursday?" Her response came immediately. "Perfect. It's a date." If that's too forward, it's also just coffee. I smiled. It's a date. I set the phone down and looked at my reflection in the dark window. The man staring back was different from the one who'd received that text message weeks ago. "Don't wait up tonight." That man had been breaking. This man was broken and rebuilt, stronger for the fractures. Healing, I realized, wasn't linear. Some days I still felt the anger, the betrayal, the loss of 7 years. But other days, like today, I felt possibility. The apartment was quiet. Outside, the city hummed with life. And for the first time in months, I was excited about tomorrow. 3 months later, spring arrived with the kind of certainty I was learning to appreciate. Sophie and I were officially dating. Nothing rushed, nothing forced. Just two adults enjoying each other's company with remarkable honesty. "You're different from what I expected," she told me over dinner one evening. "Good different or concerning different?" "Good, you're present. You listen. You don't play games." She paused. "Rachel told me what happened with your ex-wife. I'm sorry you went through that." "I'm not," I said, surprising myself with the truth of it. "Not anymore. If Emma hadn't blown up our marriage, I'd have stayed in something mediocre forever. I'd have convinced myself that decent was enough. Now I know what I actually want, which is partnership. Real partnership. Someone who chooses me as deliberately as I choose them. Every day." Sophie reached across the table and squeezed my hand. "I can work with that." The house sold in April. Above asking price, quick closing. I met Emma one final time at the title company to sign the last papers. She looked better, healthier, though sadness still lingered in her eyes. "Jake," she said as we left the building, catching my arm, "can we talk?" "Just for a minute." I nodded and we walked to a nearby bench. "I've been in therapy," she began, trying to understand why I did what I did. "My therapist says I was chasing validation, that I had self-worth issues, that Marcus represented something I thought I needed." She looked at me. "But the truth is simpler than that. I took you for granted. I stopped seeing you. And when I finally realized what I'd lost, it was too late. Emma, let me finish, please." Her voice cracked slightly. "You were right about everything. I did make choices. Every text, every lie, every time I came home to you after being with him, those were choices. And I chose wrong. I destroyed the best thing in my life because I was chasing excitement instead of appreciating love." I sat quietly, letting her speak. "I'm not asking you to forgive me or take me back. I know that ship has sailed. I just need you to know that I understand now. You didn't fail me, Jake. I failed you. I failed us. And I'll regret it for the rest of my life." "I believe you," I said finally, "and I hope you find peace with that regret. I hope you learn from it. I hope your next relationship benefits from these lessons." "There won't be a next one for a while," she said with a sad smile. "I need to learn to be alone, to like myself before I can be with anyone else. Another thing my therapist says." "That's wise." We sat in silence for a moment, watching people pass by, couples, families, individuals all caught up in their own stories. "I heard you're seeing someone," Emma said quietly. "Rachel mentioned it." "Is she? Are you happy?" "I am. She's remarkable. But more importantly, I was happy before I met her. That's the difference, Emma. This time I came to the relationship whole, not looking for someone to complete me." She nodded, tears sliding down her cheeks. "You deserve that. You always did. So do you, eventually." We stood and for a moment, we just looked at each other. Two people who'd shared 7 years, a home, dreams, and ultimately, heartbreak. Goodbye, Jake. Goodbye, Emma. I walked away without looking back. It wasn't cruel, it was necessary. Some chapters need clear endings before new ones can begin. That evening, Sophie and I cooked dinner together in my apartment, our rhythm easy, our conversation flowing between comfortable silence and laughter. She told me about her day, asked about mine, and never once checked her phone during our meal. "What are you thinking?" she asked, noticing me watching her. "That I'm grateful for this, for you, for second chances. You're getting sappy on me, Morrison," she teased, but her eyes were soft. "Maybe I am." Later, as we sat on the couch, her head on my shoulder, I realized something profound. I'd spent so much energy trying to hold on to something broken that I'd almost missed the opportunity for something whole. My phone buzzed with a text from David. Final papers filed. "You're officially divorced. How are you holding up?" I typed back, "Better than ever. Thanks for everything." Sophie noticed my expression. "Everything okay?" "Everything's final. The divorce is officially done. How do you feel?" I thought about it. Really thought about it. Did I feel sad? Relieved? Angry? No, I felt free. Like I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. She kissed my cheek. Good answer. The next morning I went for my usual run along the river. The city was waking up. Joggers, dog walkers, people starting their days with the same mundane hope that tomorrow might be better than today. I thought about the man I'd been 6 months ago. Sitting in that home office, staring at Emma's text message. That version of me had been drowning without realizing it. So accustomed to the water in his lungs that he'd forgotten what breathing felt like. "Don't wait up tonight," she'd written, and I'd replied, "Didn't plan on it." Those 5 words had been my declaration of independence. Not from her, she'd already left emotionally, but from the version of myself who would have waited forever, hoping she'd change, hoping I'd be enough. I'd learned that you can't love someone into choosing you. They either do or they don't, and when they don't, the kindest thing you can do for yourself is walk away. My phone rang. Sophie. Morning. Want to grab breakfast? I found this place that does amazing French toast, absolutely. Give me 30 minutes. Perfect. See you soon. I smiled, picked up my pace, and ran toward whatever came next. The past was signed, sealed, and filed away. The present was a spring morning and French toast with someone who chose me as deliberately as I chose her. And the future? The future was unwritten, and for the first time in years that felt like possibility rather than fear. Some people wait their whole lives for someone to choose them. I'd learned to choose myself first. Everything else, love, partnership, happiness, that was just the bonus that came with self-respect. I didn't wait up that night, and I never would again.